Personal characteristics: trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and feed on his faithfulness. Delight yourself also in the Lord, and he shall give you the desires of your heart. Ellen White's primary passes in life, born out of her own experience and amplified in her visions, was to obtain and portray an accurate picture of God's character. She saw correctly that the great religious divisions throughout time, and especially those within Christendom, developed out of an inadequate understanding of God. Spiritual awareness. In her early life, she was a victim of prevailing errors that permeate various churches. Within Protestantism, for example, misunderstanding the character of God, and thus the plan of salvation, was at the bottom of her teenage confusion concerning justification and sanctification. Further, because she had been taught that God's sovereignty and justice were Christianity's central themes, she had little peace and almost a total unawareness of a friendly God. The doctrine of eternal punishment, a product of Calvinistic thinking that focused on God's sovereignty at the expense of human responsibility, uploaded a profound on young Ellen as it does on anyone who wonders about a God who would punish sinners forever. A clearly focused theology when divine light helped her to read the Bible without being driven by the prevailing misconceptions that domain contemporary churches. The truth about God became increasingly clear. Her writings soon focused on the main questions in the great controversy between God and Satan. What is God really like? Who can be trusted, God or Satan? A clear picture of God's character along with a focused theology and captured the main theme of the Bible came afresh. Captivating picture that God charmed her into a deep, dynamic relationship with her loving and gracious friendly Lord. During the Third European Missionary Council in Basel, Switzerland, September 22, 1885, she gave one of her typical talks to workers. I feel so thankful this morning that we can commit the keeping of our souls to God as unto a faithful Creator. Sometimes the enemy precedes me the hardest with his temptations and darkness when I am about to speak to the people. I have such a sense of weakness that it seemed like an impossibility to stand before the congregation, but if I should give up the feelings and say that I could not speak, that enemy would gain the victory. I dare no not to this. I move right forward, take my place in the disk, and say, Jesus, I hang my helpless soul on thee. Thou wilt not suffer me to be brought to confusion, and the Lord gives me the victory. Oh, that I could impress upon all the importance of it, exercising faith moment by moment and hour by hour. If we believe in God, we are armed with the righteousness of Christ. We have taken hold of strings. We want to walk with our Savior as though He were right outside. Ellen White's camp meeting appeals from coast to coast became legendary. For example, in 1884, at the age of 56, she spoke at 4 camp meetings of the Jackson, Michigan meeting. Uriah Smith, editor of the church paper, reported in the review that on several occasions between 200 and 350 people responded to her appeals by going forward for prayers. There was depth, feeling and thought, no excitement and fanaticism, the manifest movings of the Spirit of God upon the heart. New discouragement. Ellen White knew the bleakness of discouragement as she fulfilled her role as God's messenger. Throughout her life, discouragement at times flirted with temporary depression. No doubt her physical weaknesses, her heart condition, and respiratory problems made her susceptible to discouragement, and being a messenger for the Lord, striking out ahead her contemporaries on the battlefield on the cosmic conflict also invited Satan's constant attacks. How did she relate to this black shadow that so many people from the beginning of time have experienced? Her counsels to others who are discouraged even in depression, combat in her own personal trials. Loneliness, even frustration and discouragement need not shut down a cherished Christian during a troubling time in the 1860s, when the Whites were in Dansville, New York, seeking help for James' physical problems. Ellen captured in her diary an earlier conversation. It is the want of genuine religion that produces gloom, despondency, and sadness. A half-service loving the world, loving self, loving frivolous amusements make a type-made cowardly servant. Such follow Christ a great way of a hearty willing service to Jesus produce a sunny religion. Those who follow Christ the most closely have not been gloomy. I do not look to the end for all the happiness. I get happiness as I go along, notwithstanding I will trials and affections. I look way to Jesus. It is in the straight hard places that He is the right by our side, and we can commune with Him and lay all our burdens upon the burden bearer and say, Here, Lord, I cannot carry these burdens any longer.